We've been growing onions right here on our patio for a number of years, primarily just from cutting them off and sticking those roots in the ground from the green onions, because we use lots of those in cooking. But today I'm expanding this little garden bed to test some different ways of planting, as well as add in some shallots that everybody in the family keeps wanting me to grow. And for the mulch in this bed, I'll be using the Epic Gardening non-GMO organic straw. I have been using mulch in my garden for years, and so I'm really excited to try this organic garden straw. In the past, I've used chicken litter and I've even tried hay, but hay is not seed free, and this is also organic certified and 100% weed seed free. So this is a wheat straw mulch. This box will cover up to 55 square feet, and it's available now on the Epic Gardening website. It comes packed in this great box, no plastic waste, and of course you could use that brown box in the garden somewhere over time. For clarity, they did send this to me for free to test it out and to share it with you. So in this video, we're gonna put it to work with the onions. Thanks Epic Gardening for sending this out. I'm excited to show y'all how I use it around the meadow. And if you want to order this for yourself, you can find it by using my affiliate link, michelleinthemeadow.com/straw, and that will automatically add the 5% off coupon to your order. I've already gotten everything prepped. I have these onions that I started from seeds a while back. I have the seeds that I saved, and I have to say thank you to Casey from One Mellow Marigold, because Casey suggested that I just cut and hang this in a dry spot, because here's what happened to the ones that I didn't do that for. They all have busted off, they're all wet, they've sprouted, and these are no good because I left them outside. So thank you, Casey. Yes, cutting it off once you get your own seeds and letting it dry in a safe space was great. I'm also going to be starting 4 different kinds of seeds here, 3 different shallots, as well as a red bunching onion that turns into a green onion, but you get that red. I'm hoping that has a little bit of that flavor to it, that little bit of pungency to it. I've also taken onions from the refrigerator. Our neighbor left these with us because they were going out of town, and so I've decided we're going to put them in the garden. And imagine this, all this is going to get cleaned up and chopped up and stuck in the freezer for cooking later. So that's a great thing. I've been doing this way for years and just cutting the greens off, and I really do love it. I've also added fresh amendments in soil to this bed. Since we've been growing the same thing here for a few years, I wanted to make sure we had the nutrients we needed. I topped it off with this Coast of Maine organic and natural raised bed mix, but I noticed that when I looked at the percentages, it is a very low percentage, 0.6, 0.35, and 0.22. This just means it has more nitrogen than phosphorus than potassium, NPK. And I wanted to have a little more nutrition than that in the bed. For the onions, what I understand is at first you want a little higher of the middle number, which is your phosphorus number, which is good for rooting and good for bulb production. And so I added in what I had here at the house without buying anything new. I had a little bit of Happy Frog, and I added in some fish bone meal. Now, area, they recommended like a cup and a half of this and a cup of this, depending on which one you used. I had about a scoop of this, maybe a quarter of a cup, if that, and I didn't have a full cup of this, so I just combined them both. I'll get a little extra nitrogen here, and then we'll see how this grows. Then I'm going to begin using a water-soluble fish fertilizer emulsion. I have that because once you get the roots beginning to establish, you want to add nitrogen to get that leaf growth, because the leaf growth gives you a better bulb growth. And while I'm not trying to grow great big onions here, I do want to get the greens up for the green onions, but I do want to get the shallots. And even though they don't make big bulbs, I do want those to do well. I think we're going to start with our cutoffs over here. You know what? Maybe I'm not. You know why? Because I've always had them on this end. I think I'm going to start with my cutoffs over here. We'll switch it up a little. we'll start with those. Then I'm going to put those right next to that. Then I'll go ahead and start some of my seeds direct sown. Then I'll transition to the scarlet bunching, and I might leave a little space in between in case I want to succession sow some. And then we'll do the Zebroon, the Thai red, and just the Thai shallot like that. And so I think I'll be happy with that. And then that will put these pulling in nutrition a little differently, even though we've topped off the bed. And we can still come out and cut those off. And these will get plenty of sunshine here and not be shaded out, though most of the sun does come. This is almost directly east facing, and so there's not a whole lot of worry about anything shading anything out over here. To prep these, I just cut the green tops off and then cut some of the ancillary roots off. And they can be planted pretty close together, honestly. It's not, let's see, it is not that necessary to plant these too far apart, especially if you're just going for the tops. I did end up with some bottoms that I could use, but they were ping pong size because of how close they were planted together, possibly the variety as well. So this will turn out pretty nicely. We'll do that here. I'm just going to take a pin and I'm going to go about the distance that I've cut off. I want to leave a little bit of the white sticking out over the top, and then it will get covered with the straw mulch, so that'll be okay. So I'm just going to put me a hole about here. Just going to walk along and put a hole just like so. I'm going to pop them in. I mean, this really is one of the easiest way to get more green onions. Go to the store, spend $1, send $1.50 on a pack of onions, and plant them once a season. And unless you use more than us, you'll have enough green onion tops to last you all year with just a purchase like that. And the nice thing, now this is done, I'll water this part in a little bit. I want to be very careful watering in the seed side, but the nice part here is you'll start seeing green tops very, 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 very quickly. So I'll water this in, just so that gets nicely around the edges there. Seals those in. Next, we are going to up pot these and prick these out, so to speak. And so these have been growing for a while. They have some really nice, beautiful roots on them. I am just going to open this up and slowly sort of wiggle, wiggle, wiggle until it starts coming apart. I want to disturb the roots as little as possible, though I have to tell you, having messed around with onions for a while, they seem to be pretty forgiving, honestly. And so I probably should have some gloves on, but I never think about that until my hands are already dirty on a project like this, because I like being able to feel what I'm doing, and I can't really feel it as well with gloves on. I have thought about using like a nitrile glove or a lab glove, or sometimes a kitchen prep type gloves you see folks using. So here we go. And I am letting this soil fall right back in here. In fact, I probably should save some of it to put on top of the onion seeds that are coming up. Look at this. Look how nice that looks though. Those look great. And because they are going to get bigger like these, I do want to give it some spacing, but now that I'm looking at this, I didn't even have to give it as much spacing as I did over there. So we're just going to come along here and lay these out about an inch, inch and a half apart. Some folks may wonder where I got the seeds for these. These are homegrown seeds I collected after the seeds went to flower. I think they went to flower sometime in the early spring. And so after the plants went to flower, I just collected seeds and then planted those. So that might be a little close. So I want to try two things with these. One, for one row, I'm going to cut the roots off, and for the other row, I'm not going to cut the roots off. Hopefully I'll make a note of that, but I just want to see how it does. It might be a terrible idea. I have tried cutting the tops off before at the time of transplanting when I was doing some garlic chives, and the chives where I cut the tops off at the time of transplanting did much worse than the ones where I did not. So this will be a different testing with the roots. Do I have kind of an equal number per row here? We'll go that. Fairly equal. And we have some that are smaller and some that are bigger. So let me grab my scissors and I'm going to go ahead and cut the roots off the first row. Okay, let's do that. Now when I say I'm going to cut the roots off, I'm not cutting them all the way back like I did these. I'm just going to come back to about 1 inch of roots. About 1 inch. 2 reasons. 1, just to experiment, and 2, trying to plant these in anyway and get those roots way down, I'm going to have to dig into the soil pretty deeply. And so I don't want to lose these little tiny bulbs down in the soil. And this is just me practicing. I've never done this before. As I've shared with you all, I am not an expert gardener, but I am willing to learn and share with you the things that I discover. I heard Kevin from Epic Gardening say, is this a perfect scientific experiment? Oh, heck not. No, or heck no. Mrs. Michelle says heck not. Oh, heck not. But what we're doing is just trying stuff and seeing if it works. And you try it for your garden and see if it works for you. So now for these, I'm actually going to use a different stick to poke the hole because I need just a smaller hole. So we're just going to do this, and I'm going to push that in, but I'm going to try to get to the neck there and not go too deep. Not go too deep. Well, pull that out. See what I mean about stuffing all of the roots down in there? I'm kind of giving that a little twirly. Like Casey. Well, that one needs a little bigger. Huh. Oh, well, that might work. Imagine that. A finger. Using your fingers to make a hole. Yeah, that works a little better actually because of the size of the root bulbs, even at that size. Okay, put that down. And then I'm going to come back and pull these up just a little bit because I feel like I got them a little too deeply planted. Not in a perfectly straight line, but that's okay. We don't have to do things perfectly in the garden in order to grow food. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just giving them a little pull up very gently because these are tender little plants. I'm even going to sprinkle in a little bit of their dirt that they were in, some of their own biome that they were already grown in, some of their own organic material. All right. And now for these, I am going to try to go a little deeper to see how deep I can get these roots in here. So we're just going to go like this. I'm going to push my finger way down in there and drop them in, and then I'm going to come back in a second. They don't seem to mind being crowded after all. So I just don't sweat that so much. Honestly, I haven't sweated it much on many plants, and so I still get food. I try stuff. You know, this is not a 100% feeding my family garden, though gosh, I would love that. So I'm willing to take some risks because the only way you learn is by trying stuff. I mean, really, you can watch all the videos you want to watch, but you need to try stuff in your own garden and for your own garden to see how it does. Okay, so got that. Now we got those down there. I'm going to press and pull that back up a little. Press and pull that back up. I really kind of want a little bit of the white showing. I succeeded on some of them, not all of them, but they're pretty resilient. I have cut off and moved around and done a lot with the onions. They're pretty resilient, so I'm not terribly worried about that. And now we'll just put some more of their good stuff right back on them. All right, then we'll water those in. Rinse my hands off as I do it. And I'm giving them a good water just so that some of that dirt can get solidified in around the roots that we put down into the ground. Let's see who's not still standing up. I can come back, press a little extra dirt for the ones that aren't standing up like I want them to. Make myself some mud pies. Oops, that one came all the way out. Gotta do something about that. You're not supposed to be all the way out. You're supposed to be in there. All right. Another one that came all the way out. And I will have some mulch around these like we talked about, so we'll see how that does as well. Okay. Next step, we're going to do some direct sow. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this area with a just by pressing it down a little, because I don't actually plan to so much bury the seeds as I do to put them down and then cover them with more soil. I have discovered that these black seeds are hard to see on the soil to see where you put them. And so when I created this pot, I actually just cut a paper towel to put it on top of the soil and then covered it with dirt. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to cut me a strip of paper towels. And these are just upcycled from inside the house. Mrs. Michelle's always cutting a paper towel for to use as a coaster. And so I'm just going to trim these up and you'll see what I'm going to do here. So I am just going to lay out my row here for the seeds. And I guess I might repeat this for all of them. And I'm going to give this a little bit of water just to hold it in place. I'm going to put it on my misting setting. Again, a shout out to Casey from One Mellow Marigold, because if I had not taken this and hung it in the shed, I would not have any seeds to plant out here today. I would have had to dig for seeds. I know I saved some others, but the ones I left outside got all wet, and so now at least I have seeds here. The seeds are little tiny and black, and this is the flower head they came out of. So I suppose I could winnow that. Maybe not with wet hands, you can't. Okay, so now I can at least see where my seeds are going, and I can plant them. They can be 3/4 of an inch apart, even an inch apart. It's all good. But the nice thing about, even if you have a low budget, if you can afford a pack of onions, you can grow all year. And then I think they're biennial. In the second year of letting them grow, they'll put on flowers. And when they put on those flowers, you can save the seeds. I saved the seeds by wrapping, once the flowers bloomed and I knew they had been pollinated, I saved the seeds by wrapping these origami bags on them, and then I cut it off and hung that one in the shed where it could dry and finish dropping seeds in peace without the rain and interference of everything else that's happening in the garden. You can see now that's dirt and that's a seed, so it is very hard to see where it is. I wonder though, I should try this next time. Again, shout out to Casey at One Mellow Marigold. Casey has a little formula that she uses for carrots, and maybe that would be really good here too, to take these onion seeds and use the little mix that she makes and actually pipe them out like she does her carrots. That might work really, really well. So all right, so there is one row there. I'm going to drop the rest that I have here in my hand because they're already wet. I don't want to try to bag them back up. And if some fall in the dirt somewhere where it's not in this row, it's not the end of the world after all. It's just more food for us. All right, just do that. There we go. Those are all down. So much for keeping them separate, right? So now you can kind of see how they look nice in a row. I am not going to shove them into the ground. I am simply going to take some soil from right next to it and do this. And so we're just covering them with soil. They don't need to be very deep, I've discovered. And so we're just covering this strip with soil. I'm just going to give it a nice pat down. And I would say that's not even 1/4 of an inch of soil. It's probably more like 1/8 of an inch of soil. But now I give it this nice pat down. And get the water here. Still set. Oh, no, change to mist. If you don't have a little one that will change for you like that, you got to check those out. That's nice, little mist. Make sure that soil is nice and wet up there. All right. So now we've got the onions planted. Let's plant some shallots. But before I do that, I should put my markers in so I remember what is where. So there is that. I am trying some new things with my markers where I know and I can pay attention. Like this, and what I did here, I may not remember to do it later, but I did all the onions in pink, I did all the shallots in green, and when I knew where the seed was from, I'm adding that to my listing now because I have so many different kinds of seeds. It also gives me a good idea if things are working or not working from a particular seed company. I need to add Sherwoods to this one. These are from Etsy, and I'll go back and look and see who they were from, but they don't have the names on the packet, so I'm going to add Sherwood to that. I'm going to repeat this again with the paper towel. I kind of like doing this. I might go get me another paper towel from in the house to do the next ones as well. Let's give that a little mist. Press it down a little bit before we put the seeds on. Just sort of helps the seeds stay in the line. Probably should have pressed it before I misted it, but here we go. Yeah, I think it might still be a little warm for this germination, but here we are. This says 75 is the top end, and we're in the we're definitely still, it's warmer than 75 right now. So I'm only going to do a portion of these, and I'll save some more for later. Put those there out of the line of fire for water. And they are bunching after all, and they are getting a little bunched together. That's already got my line marker there. Progress. It only took me years to get used to trying to mark what I planted. I always felt like I could remember when it was just a few bags. I could, but now there's no way. Sometimes I go back and look at my old videos to try to remember what I planted somewhere. You got this? All right. Now that we got the first part done, let's get some mulch on this side. We'll go ahead and open up the straw. Oh, this is cool, y'all. So there's no more plastic bags inside here. The straw is directly in the box. This is a, what do we have? 1.5 cubic feet. And so it's right here. There's no more waste, especially if you're worried about waste in plastic. This is kind of cool. This is here. Some of this is a little bit bigger, so I'm not sure. Just depends. I don't know. We've got all varieties in here, so I think it may just depend on how it gets boxed. So we're going to go ahead and sprinkle straw across this. I'll put a little thicker over here where we have onion tops already coming through, and a little thinner over the seeds. I'm gonna thin stuff over the seeds. So, this a little bit thicker over these. I'm not too worried about them not being able to break through. There's that. Nice here. This will create some nice shade. And that is not too bad there. I like that. A lot of times I'll go kind of thick with mulch, but I don't want to go thick right on the fresh seeds. You want them to not have to fight. They're already going to fight up through the soil. So you don't want to have them to have to like fight through layers and layers of this mulch. Now, though, once they start getting up, I'll come back and mulch this some more. The other thing that I've learned with mulching is you also want to give it a little watering in, so that it's way down and it's not blowing in the wind. And so this tends to work really, really well. I do not have irrigation set up in this bed, so this is something I will need to have to come back and take care of and make sure it's being properly irrigated on a regular basis. But I'm really certain that having the straw on here is going to give it a much better chance of holding in that moisture. So that's excellent. All right. Now that we got this side done, we're going to start on this end and work our way back. And we're going to leave no man's land here in the middle, dividing up the shallots versus the green onions, or versus the onions, I should say. So these are scarlet bunching onions. So I've seen people do this with toilet paper too, but the paper towel seems to hold up a little better with the water while you're pressing on it than I think toilet paper would. So we have Thai shallot here. We'll start with that. And these have been coated blue. I think that helps with germination. I think that the Thai ones, planting this time of year, may or may not matter because it's so hot there year-round that I don't know that they're bred to worry about the top end of germination being 75 degrees. So, oh, these are going to be shallots. I need to space them a little bit further apart. So shallots, the ones we like to buy, are the heads are about 1 inch big. If you don't know shallot, I'll put a picture of that up on the screen. We use them raw in a lot of the things that we cook, a lot of pickled things, kind of like a red onion. It's a milder red onion, very tasty. In salad, like we'll do Mom makes different kinds of salads and she likes these in there as opposed to a red onion. So, very tasty. And I'm sure that I will need to succession plant these and plant again. So I'm going to do 2 rows today. And then I may find some other places in the garden to plant more. So, oh, I got some bunched there. I could do some overseeding and then prick them back out. I'm not really trying to do that today up in this garden bed, but I could. All right, so we'll put these in and save the rest of these for later. And I forgot to press this down beforehand, so we're just going to do it all at one time. I'm going to give a little light mist. I forgot to mist them. Actually, that might work out pretty good. Sort of getting them to stick to the paper towel. All right. We'll get some of the soil from its neighbor here that we haven't planted in yet. We'll sprinkle that over. Just pat those all down. I think the most important part of the patting is to understand that that seed needs coverage and a little bit of darkness with the coverage, and it needs to feel the soil up against it, the wet soil, the moist soil. That's like a little warning sign or a little sign that says, hey, it's time to start growing. So how far out did I go? I wasn't paying attention to my marker here, so we'll move these over a little bit. All right, so now start my next round here. It's working pretty good. And this will be the Zabroon. Actually, no, I want to switch them. I want the Zabroon over here. I want the Zabroon here and I want the Thai here. That's right. I did it right. I did it right. Okay. And so half that. It's a little wider down here. I could have used a little more paper towel. Clean my hands. These are the Zabroons, and I got the packet wet, so gosh golly. There's only 30 seeds in here, so. Oh, nice. It's 30 seeds, but look. They included them. They included them in 2 different packets, so that's good. Maybe I'll do the same thing. Maybe I'll divide these up a little bit bigger between the 2 rows, just to see what they come out like. There's that. And who knows, I might accidentally pick up a seed that was already in here at some point. It's all good. Again, doesn't have to be perfect science. We're just trying to grow food. And have fun. Because if you're not having fun, does it even matter that you're doing it? So there is that. All right, another little mist. And finally, our Thai red onion here. Also a shallot variety. Okay, I'll press that in a little better this time. Oh, no, actually, I got these in the wrong spot. Let's go here and here, because this hasn't been opened yet, and this one's opened and wet, so I must have put those in the wrong place. Oh, well. Oh, the joys. Oh, the joys. See, I lost one. I can see, actually, I can see these in the dirt, against the dirt. That's interesting. Makes it kind of nice. I didn't pick it up, I just can see it. I think next time I do this with a paper towel, I'm going to go ahead and make myself a little trench. Like take a chopstick or something and make a trench so they don't roll off, because I'm a little lopsided on this row. I wasn't as lopsided before, but now it's a little more lopsided. And a little bit of overseeding on this one, not intentionally. I just took out more than I needed, and I don't like to put damp seeds back in the container. So we'll find a spot that looks like it could use more. All right, there is that. Here's one that I dropped. I can see the blue. All right, a little bit of mist on these. I'm getting faster, have you noticed? Let's get some mulch on top of this side too. And I'm going to stick this. This is an old political sign. I'm going to use this as my hoop. And I'm going to find some shade cloth, because I think they could use a little bit of shade for some of this growing right now. So, and while I don't have any official shade cloth at the moment, what I do have is some frost cloth left over from winter. And I think for this, it's going to give me just a little bit of shade on here and help these through the hottest of the next couple of weeks. And I'll just put that over like so. It should also help keep the cats out of it, which is nice. And I just use that. I really love collecting these after the elections, because then I can use them around the yard and they're not just going to waste if their candidate hasn't picked stuff up. So after thinking this through, I changed my mind a little bit. I was trying to do that partially to keep the cats out, because they like to lay in this bed, but I don't want them laying on top of my seeds and my seedlings and breaking them off. But I still do think I need some shade protection. So I'm going to do, oops, oh, I'm stuck. I'm going to do this instead. Put some more of these in right here at the ends. And then I have these little fences that I bought a few years ago, and I've just been using them around the garden as I need them. And because they're a soft plastic, I can sort of, oh, how about I put them inside that. That'll hold that in. And that can discourage the cats from coming up in there. Here we go. The joys of loving animals and trying to deal with how much they just want to lay around in whatever it is you've got planted. So one more. Since it's a little plastic gate, it's flexible enough, I can do this. Just overlap a couple of them. So that should discourage that. Okay, now I'm just gonna lay that fabric across the top so that air can flow through. Let's do that. Let's see how this does. And when the sun is up and high in the sky, we have shade over the top in that hottest part of the day. But I know that light can still get through and airflow can still get through. So let's just pin it to win it. What do you say? And I may still end up with some shade cloth. I just don't have it today. And I don't want to risk having these get burnt before they even get started. We'll come around and look at it from this side too. I think this might work pretty well. And it's got some nice airflow through there. So there, I've got some shade for the hottest part of the day when the sun is directly overhead. But we still got airflow through there. And these little gates should discourage the cats. It's not impossible to hop over them, but I think it's less likely when it's so flimsy. I like it. Maybe I'll put me one more clip right there just to hold that down. Very cool, very cool. I am so happy to have that done. If you've been following some of my content, you know that I feel like I have 10,000 projects to get done around here, but I'm really happy that I can check another one off. If you want to see more of the projects that are growing on around here, be sure to check out this video right over here. And until next time, my friends, remember to drink plenty of water, wear that high quality sunscreen, and as always, have a fantastic day.